What if you could take one final class? There would be no books, no grades. The subject would be the meaning of life. And your professor would be an old, wise man with only a few months left to live. The only textbook would be his life. What questions would you ask him? This isn't a fantasy. It is the true story of the final conversations between author Mitch Albom and his dying college professor, Morrie Schwartz. It is the story of a weekly class held every Tuesday in Morrie's study as he faced the end of his life with courage, humor, and profound wisdom. Their conversations, as told in the beautiful and life-changing memoir Tuesdays with Morrie, became a final lesson on how to live. Today on Geeky Philosopher, we are going to enroll in that class. We are going to sit with Morrie and learn his timeless lessons on the things that truly matter. Segment 1. The Reunion. The story begins with Mitch Albom, a successful sports journalist who is at the peak of his career. He is busy, ambitious, and completely absorbed in his work. He has lost touch with the idealistic young man he once was, and with the people who mattered to him, including his favorite college professor, Morrie Schwartz. Then one night he sees his old professor on television. Morrie, now in his late 70s, has been diagnosed with ALS, a cruel and incurable disease that will slowly paralyze his body but leave his sharp mind intact. Instead of retreating from the world, Morrie has decided to use his own death as his final project. He is teaching the world how to die. Filled with a sense of guilt and regret, Mitch reaches out and visits his old coach. That first visit turns into a weekly tradition. Every Tuesday, Mitch flies to Boston to sit with Morrie, and their final class on the meaning of life begins. One of Morrie's first and most powerful lessons is about the world we live in. He tells Mitch that our modern culture is teaching us all the wrong things. It is a sick culture that brainwashes us into believing that a meaningful life is about acquiring more money, more status, and more things. We're involved in trillions of little acts just to keep going, so, we don't get into the habit of standing back and looking at our lives and saying, is this all I want, is something missing? Morrie's solution is not to drop out of society, but to create your own personal subculture. You have to be strong enough to say no to the things that don't matter, and to build your life around your own, more compassionate values, like love, community, and service. He teaches that you can't find fulfillment by buying into the culture's empty promises. You have to have the courage to create your own meaning. Segment 3. The Core Curriculum, on Love and Compassion. At the heart of Morrie's entire philosophy is one central recurring theme: love. As his body weakens and he becomes more dependent on others, he doesn't see it as a source of shame. Instead, he sees it as an opportunity to experience a different kind of love. He learns to revel in the care he receives from his family and friends. He tells Mitch, the most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and to let it come in. He argues that all our pursuits of money, fame, and success are really just a misguided search for the love and connection we truly crave. His advice is simple and profound: love is the only rational act. In the face of our inevitable death, all the other things we chase, the promotions, the fancy cars, the big houses, they all turn to dust. The only thing that endures, the only thing that has any real meaning, is the love we share with the people in our lives. Love each other, he says, or perish. Segment 4. The Advanced Course, on Forgiveness. As Morrie gets closer to the end, his lessons get deeper and more personal. One of the most important is on the subject of forgiveness. So, he tells Mitch a story about a friend, a sculptor named Norman, with whom he had a falling out years ago. Morrie was, proud and stubborn, and he never forgave his friend. Then, Norman died suddenly. Morrie was haunted by the regret of never making amends. He tells Mitch that it is essential to forgive others, but even more essential to forgive yourself. We all carry around regrets, things we wish we had done differently, moments we were not our best selves. Morrie's lesson is that we must learn to let go of these burdens. Holding on to anger and regret is a poison that only harms ourselves. Forgive yourself before you die, he says, then forgive others. It's a powerful prescription for finding peace, not just at the end of life, but right now. Segment 5, the final exam, on accepting death. The final and most poignant class is on the subject of death itself. Morrie is not afraid. Instead, he's curious. He's using his own dying process as a final act of learning. He teaches Mitch the most important lesson of all: once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. This is a beautiful paradox. It is only by confronting and accepting our own mortality that we can truly begin to live. When you know that your time is limited, you stop sweating the small stuff. The trivial worries, the petty conflicts, the pursuit of status, they all fall away. Facing death brings a profound and beautiful clarity. It forces you to focus only on what is truly essential: the people you love, the small joys of the present moment, and the simple act of being. Morrie's final lesson is not about dying. It is a powerful, urgent, and beautiful call to wake up and start living before it's too late. Conclusion: The Graduation. Tuesdays with Morrie is more than a memoir, it is a gift. You know, it's a reminder of the timeless, simple truths that we so often forget in the frantic busyness of our lives. It's a book that, well, teaches us that the greatest wisdom is often found not in strength but in vulnerability. You know, it shows us that our relationships are honestly the most valuable assets we will ever have. And really, it reminds us that a life of meaning isn't measured in years or in achievements, but in the love we give and the love we let in. Morrie's final class, well, it wasn't just for Mitch Albom, it was for all of us. And his final lesson is actually a simple one: there is no such thing as too late in life. This beautiful book is, in a way, an invitation to pause, to reflect, and to ask ourselves the big questions. Are we living a life that is true to our own values? Are we giving and receiving enough love? Are we living with the urgency and the gratitude that comes from knowing our time is precious? If you are someone who is on a quest to live a more conscious, more loving, and more meaningful life, then you are a student of Morrie's philosophy. Consider subscribing to Geeky Philosopher, where we're dedicated to exploring life's greatest lessons. Thank you for coming to class today.